Many thanks for joining us, everyone. The allegations brought forward by Mr. Jibrin has again stirred up the conversation about what are federal lawmakers, and it is a popular opinion, of course. Everybody has this knowledge that they are perhaps the highest paid in the world. As we work on the 2016 budget to break down some of these issues and figures to bring you details, we'll now find out what currently operates. Let's take an example of the 2015 budget, well, just last year, and the monies which go into the National Assembly. Take a listen now and look at it. In the 2015 budget, for example, 150 billion naira was said to have been allocated to the National Assembly. That money, among several other things, will include what runs the two chambers, their pay, and some other institutions affiliated to the parliament. Well said. Now, but from that budgetary allocation, it is clear that the budget is over 3% of the total budget of the Federation. And it is said that a Nigerian senator earns about 240 million in salaries and allowances annually, while a member of the lower chamber, the House of Representatives, earn about 204 million naira in salaries and wages annually. Well, the figures now, making sense of it, makes a Nigerian lawmaker one of the highest paid in the world. And so the ratio of earnings to the GDP, Nigerian lawmakers earn about 115 times more than an average citizen. So the question is, in these very scorching economic times in Nigeria, do we need a parliament funded that heavily? Well, we've been discussing this, and Mr. Curtis Adigba, a legal practitioner and a policy analyst, has been talking to us. Now, if you look at some of these and some of the things that Mr. Jibrin has brought to the table, when we try to string the issues together and the figures, what do you make of it?
See, look, I've been saying this in some other places. It is very, very painful. And I think, look, the funny thing is, up and up to this moment, nobody has come from the leadership of the House or from the House to say, Jibrin is not speaking the truth. What we've seen so far is the House saying, is in breach of our privileges of members. But they are forgetting that the Nigerian people who elected them have also privileges to know exactly what is going on there. All right?
Not to have the National Assembly in secrecy,
look,
operating in secrecy.
This is not even a conclave. Even in the conclave, where a pope is elected, people have got the right to know what is going on there.
If you look at some of the, Mr. Adigba, look at some of the figures that Mr. Jibrin brought forward, and some of the figures he said they share.
Look, Jibrin talked about 10 billion naira that was shared. And he said he got some money, about 650 million. And I said, look, is either Jibrin is stunningly naive or is extremely convinced about his battle. And you just have to give it to him, for a man to say, look, I'm part of the rot, but I am now at the moment where I can take no more. I've hit my, I can take no more moment. All right? And nobody is challenging him. He's been coming out with allegations upon allegations. And the silence has been very, very loud from the other side. Nobody has come to say, Jibrin is not, it's lying. What we heard from Dogua, I think the minority leader, is that Jibrin is a sick man, or that Jibrin is a madman. Of course, mad people also do have lucid moments. And when they have these lucid moments, they can tell you the truth.
Could this be the moment where we really need to look at the National Assembly and say, do we need a bicameral legislature, or do we even need to operate the National Assembly? These are some of the questions. Considering the amount of money, we are in recession, every kobo counts.
Look, having the National Assembly, two arms or two groups of the National Assembly, like you have in the United States, they call the Congress.
Yeah.
It's not basically the problem. I think the problem here is we have a National Assembly that is not prepared to be accountable and transparent to the people, and not prepared to make adequate sacrifice. Look, they're looking at them as super elites and living above everybody, and say, look, nobody can even ask them questions. Each time the Nigerian people has called for transparency in the conduct of their affairs, it is interpreted as an onslaught against their independence.
They've actually listened, because there is a war, so to say, online about what goes into the National Assembly in their budget, but they've cut it down from 150 billion to, I think,
115 billion.
Yeah.
The current budget is 115 billion.
15 billion, yeah.
But Shehu, look at that. For only 405 members, National Assembly put together. All right?
So making laws is too expensive.
It's too expensive. And look, and the truth is that Nigerians are not getting value for the money being spent on them.
Really?
Yes, what is the value? How many laws have they enacted? What is the impact of those laws on the lives of the ordinary citizens of this country?
The 150 billion has been budgeted for the National Assembly at least 4 or 5 years.
How much?
And 150 billion times 4 or 5 years compared to the laws, do you think that...
Ask yourself, how much are we spending on capital projects in this country on a yearly basis? All right? And then to look at the remuneration and allowances of the National Assembly member, taking as much as 115 billion in an economy that is this troubled, in an economy that is in a recession. And this is the problem. All right? Now, if you look at the National Assembly in terms of output, in terms of their contribution, what has been the value that they have given to this country in terms of lawmaking that has impacted positively on the lives of the ordinary citizens of this country?
A lot more will cascade in the coming days. But looking at the solution now, we are in a critical moment as a nation, where we need a lot of austerity measures in terms of how we spend the money, in terms of how public officers are accountable to the people. But as it stands now, what would you're a lawyer, a lot of people have talked about the constitutionality behind how Jibrin was suspended. But again, let's look at the constitutionality of how we can prune the cost of governance, especially in the National Assembly. What would you suggest as a solution?
Well, look, the problem is the National Assembly is very legalistic. And every time they want to fall back on the Constitution, assume powers that are never even given to them in the Constitution. However, this is something that has got to do with the willingness of the people to confront realities and make appropriate adjustment. Look at what happened in Senegal, where the president took steps not only to cut down the tenure of the presidency, but also to move forward with taking out one arm of the National Assembly of Senegal just to cut down costs. I think Nigeria just jumped into the bicameral setup without looking at how it happened in other parts of the world.
I think we had so much money at that time. So much oil money.
I don't think so. I think
in the late 90s, we had a lot of money at that time.
We just adopted the presidential system of government from the United States, and we went along with everything, basically. Now, but look at it this way. The United States originally didn't have a House of Representatives. They had senators, but then it was thought that senators were representing their states and not the people. And so there was a Connecticut agreement which says, since the representatives are closer to the people, there's a need to have a House of Representatives. Okay, and so, but the fact is that the Congress in America is regulated. Everybody knows how much they are earning, all right? And this is very open. But in our country, they see themselves as part of the super elites. Their actions are unquestionable. They are not answering to anybody. Answerable to anybody. They don't believe in transparency. They tell you that the independence of the legislature is an absolute independence, and nobody can question them. And this is the problem. I think Jibrin should continue talking, and I think Nigerians should continue to ask questions.
All right. We will stay on this matter, and we'll get some more facts on what goes into National Assembly. Many thanks, Mr. Adigba, for coming on the program.
Thank you.
But that's how far we can go on the program tonight. Many thanks for being such a great company. On behalf of the team here at Channel Television Headquarters in Lagos, I'm Sean Akimbale. Bye for now.